Welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen and enjoy my stories every day. The sun had dipped below the horizon when I decided to pay an unexpected visit to my father's home, a quaint cottage nestled on the edge of our small town, wrapped in the sweet nostalgia of my childhood memories. It had been a year since my mother passed away, and since then, my father had been a shell of his former self. Lizzie, my wife, had taken it upon herself to fill the void left by my mother's absence. Her visits to my father had become more frequent, and her excuses more elaborate. I trusted her. I believed she was just lending a comforting shoulder to a lonely old man. As I parked my car outside the familiar house, the dim glow from the living room windows spilled onto the pebbled driveway. I approached the door, keys in hand, but stopped. Laughter echoed through the cool evening air, a sound too hearty for a simple consolation visit. My heart thudded against my ribs as I pressed my ear against the door, the voices inside morphing into discernible whispers. Deciding against announcing my arrival, I slipped the keys back into my pocket and moved to the window, curiosity morphing into a sharp pang of suspicion. The sheer curtain veiled the sin inside with deceptive innocence. I peered through the gap. The sight that greeted me was like a sledgehammer to my chest. There, in the dimly lit living room where my childhood photos still hung on the walls, was my father and Lizzie. But they weren't just sitting and talking, they were on the sofa, half naked, lost in a passionate embrace. My father's hands, those same hands that had once carried me on his shoulders, were now roaming over my wife's body with a familiarity that shattered my world. Lizzie. The word escaped my lips before I could choke it back, and they froze, two deer caught in the headlights of my devastation. Lizzie scrambled upright, clutching at her blouse. "Tom. It's not what it looks like," she stammered, her face the picture of guilt. But my father, unabashed and defiant, just stared at me, his gaze steady. "Tom, son, you need to understand." "What?" "That my wife finds solace in her father-in-law's bed. That you betrayed me with her." My voice was a crescendo of betrayal and disbelief. Lizzie reached out to me, tears welling up in her eyes. "Tom, I'm so sorry, I never meant for this to happen." "Save it." I snapped, cutting her off. My entire body shook as the magnitude of their betrayal sank in. The woman I loved and the man I revered, together in the most sordid of truths. I backed away from the window, my mind racing. The pain was unbearable, a searing stab in the back from the two people I trusted most. But the hurt quickly gave way to anger, an all-consuming rage that demanded retribution. I turned on my heel, my heart hardening with each step. "This is far from over," I promised into the chill of the evening. Lizzie's sobs and my father's calls for me to return were mere echoes in the void that now enveloped my heart. As I drove away, the plan began to form. Lizzie had chosen her bed, and now she would lie in it, alone and without the life we had built together. I would make sure of it. The divorce would be just the beginning of her downfall. She would regret the day she betrayed me, and my father, he would lose the son he had already forsaken. This was just the beginning. The shadows of the night seemed to agree, whispering of dark days to come. The days following the revelation were a blur of anger and meticulous planning. Each morning, as the sun clawed its way into the sky, I woke with a singular purpose, to dismantle the life Lizzie thought she could secretly build behind my back. The bitterness of her betrayal fermented within me, pushing me to act. On a particularly overcast Tuesday, I sit at my desk, papers scattered around, divorce filings, financial statements, photos of Lizzie and my father that I had taken from that cursed evening. Each document a nail for the coffin of her duplicity. My phone buzzes, it's a message from Lizzie. I open it half-heartedly. "Tom, please can we talk? I need to explain things. It's not what you think." I sneer at her plea, the words dripping with deceit. Instead of replying, I dial my lawyer's number. "Mark, proceed with the divorce. Full throttle. I want everything she could have dreamed of taken from her," I command, my voice steel hard. Understood, Tom. I'll push for the maximum settlement. The evidence you provided is compelling. She won't see a dime from you, Mark assures me with a tone that matches my resolve. With the call ended, I head out, driving to my father's house, the place where the fabric of my trust was torn. The air is heavy with an impending storm, mirroring the turmoil inside me. As I pull into the driveway, my grip tightens on the steering wheel. My pulse races, this confrontation is overdue. I knock sharply on the door. Moments later, my father opens it, his face lined with age and worry. Tom, he begins, but I raise a hand, stopping him mid-sentence. No. You don't get to speak yet, I interject coldly. How could you? Mom hasn't even been gone a year, and you, my voice breaks, anger mingling with grief. He looks down, shame etching his features. I'm sorry, Tom. It started out innocently enough. We were just talking, and then. You forgot who she was to me. That she was my wife. I snap back, my voice rising with each word. Tom, His voice trails off, unable to defend the indefensible. I want you to know that I am going through with the divorce. And you, I point a finger at him, my hand trembling, you are dead to me. Don't contact me. Ever. As I turn to leave, he reaches out, a plea in his eyes. Tom, please. But I don't look back. I leave him standing in the doorway, a broken man shrouded in his betrayal. The drive back is a quiet one, my mind clear for the first time in days. I know what needs to be done, and I feel the weight of my decisions solidifying into resolve. Back home, I start packing up Lizzie's belongings. Each item is a memory, a lie wrapped in a moment of time. Her clothes, her books, her photos, into boxes they go. I call a local charity. I have some items to donate, I say, more to myself than the person on the other end. As I label the last box, my phone buzzes again. It's Lizzie once more. Tom, I'm at the door. Please, let's talk. Sighing, I head towards the front door, ready to face her, not as my wife, but as the stranger she has become. The confrontation I know will be nothing short of a storm, and I am ready to weather it. The plot of her undoing is just beginning to unfold. The doorbell rings insistently, echoing through the empty spaces of what used to be our shared home. I steel myself, adjusting my posture before I stride towards the door. My hand hesitates on the knob, despite everything, a part of me dreads what comes next. I open the door. Lizzie stands there, eyes red and swollen from crying, her face a mask of regret. Without invitation, she steps inside, her presence filling the space like a dark cloud. Tom, please, hear me out. It was a mistake. I never meant for any of this to happen, she pleads, her voice shaky. I cross my arms, leaning against the wall. The anger and hurt boil inside me, but I keep my voice calm, cold. A mistake. That's what you call it. She nods, biting her lip. Yes, I was lost, confused. Your father was there, and he reminded me so much of you, of us. Stop, I cut her off, the disgust rising. You don't get to justify your betrayal by pinning it on resemblances or moments of weakness. We stand in the living room, the tension palpable. Lizzie looks around, noticing her packed belongings. You're throwing me out, she asks, a note of desperation creeping into her tone. I'm not throwing you out. I'm removing you from my life. There's a difference. You made your choices, Lizzie. Now, you live with them, I state flatly, moving to pick up a box. Tom, I love you. I made a terrible mistake. Can we not try to work this out? Perhaps go to counseling. I'll do whatever it takes, she pleads, stepping closer. The proximity is too much. I set the box down with a thud, glaring at her. Love? Do you even understand what that word means? You've destroyed everything, Lizzie. There's nothing left to work out. Her eyes well up with tears again, but this time, I find no sympathy in my heart for her. Please, Tom. Don't do this. Don't make us strangers. I laugh, bitter and sharp. Strangers? Oh, Lizzie, we crossed that bridge the moment you betrayed me with my own father. There's no going back. She flinches as if slapped, her face crumpling. I'll leave then. But know this, I truly am sorry. I hope someday you can forgive me, she whispers, her voice breaking. I watch silently as she takes a small bag, leaving most of her belongings behind, and walks to the door. She pauses, looking back as if hoping for a sign of reprieve. I offer none. Goodbye, Lizzie, I say, my voice void of warmth. With that, she steps out, closing the door gently behind her. The click of the latch sounds like the final seal on our fractured past. I slump against the wall, a mix of relief and sorrow washing over me. The first steps of retribution had been taken, but the journey was far from over. The following days are spent reorganizing my life, redirecting my paths away from the ruins of what had been. Yet, despite the actions taken, the seed of vengeance remains unsatisfied within me. Lizzie might have exited my daily life, but the betrayal festers, urging me to secure a more definitive closure. The plan takes a new shape as I consider my next moves. True retribution isn't just about separation, it's about ensuring the betrayal is acknowledged by all. I start gathering evidence, documenting every lie, every deceitful moment that could prove her infidelity beyond doubt. As the puzzle pieces come together, a clearer picture emerges, one that will not only cement my case in any legal proceedings but also tarnish the unfaithful legacy Lizzie and my father hope to hide. The intrigue of my plotted retribution thickens, promising a resolution that will leave no stone unturned. The autumn winds carry a chill that matches the cold resolve in my heart as I finalize my plans. My father's betrayal and Lizzie's deceit have become a catalyst for a revenge that now reaches its climax. I've been meticulous, gathering evidence not just to divorce Lizzie, but to expose their affair publicly, ensuring their social circles and our small town would recoil from their treachery as I have. I schedule a meeting under the guise of finalizing our divorce proceedings, at a local, popular cafe, neutral ground flooded with the eyes of acquaintances. Lizzie arrives, a false mask of composure barely hiding her nervousness. She still harbors a hope of amicable parting, a delusion I'm about to shatter. Tom, can we just keep this civil? She begins, her voice trembling slightly. Civil? Oh, it will be more than civil. It will be enlightening, I reply coolly, my eyes scanning the room. The curious glances of onlookers are exactly what I need. I pull out a folder, thick with photos, emails, and messages, all meticulously collected over the past weeks. As I lay them out on the table between us, her face drains of color. What are you doing, Tom? She hisses, glancing nervously around. Showing the truth, I say loudly, enough to turn heads. People begin to murmur, their eyes flicking between the documents and Lizzie's stricken face. You can't, this is private, she protests, trying to shove the papers back into the folder. Private? Like your affair with my father was supposed to be? I snap, drawing more attention. You two made a mockery of my trust, and now everyone will know. As the crowd whispers and stares, Lizzie stands abruptly, her chair screeching against the floor. You're insane. No, Lizzie, I am vindicated, I declare, standing to face her squarely. The cafe is now abuzz, the whispers growing louder as the reality of the situation unfolds publicly. Lizzie turns to leave, humiliation painted across her face, but I'm not done yet. There's more, I call out, ensuring every ear in the vicinity can hear. Let everyone know how you and my father deceived me, how you desecrated the memory of my mother with your sordid affair. She stops, her body stiffening, and then without a word, pushes through the crowd and out the door, her departure marked by the scornful gazes of our community. My father, having heard of the spectacle through the grapevine, confronts me later that day at my house. He looks older, diminished. "Tom, you've gone too far. This could have been handled quietly." "Quietly?" I scoff, stepping close enough to see the defeat in his eyes. "Like how you quietly took my wife to bed." "No, father, this needed to be done out in the open. You both deserve to feel some of the shame I felt." He shakes his head, the fight gone out of him. "I'm sorry, Tom. I truly am. I was lonely, she was there, and it was wrong. But you're still my son. Maybe in time." "In time? There is no more us, father. Just like there is no Lizzie in me. Consider this my final goodbye," I state coldly, the finality in my voice echoing in the empty spaces of the house. As he leaves, the weight of my actions begins to settle. I've exposed their deceit, exacted my revenge, and ensured their betrayal is known to all. But the house feels emptier, the victory hollow. I realize that revenge has not brought relief, only a deeper solitude. My father and Lizzie are gone from my life, forever marked by their betrayal, and I am left to rebuild from the ruins of their treachery. In the silence that follows, I understand that this conclusion is not just an ending but a beginning. A beginning where I can finally move forward, untethered from the deceit that once defined my life.